Unitarian Universalism, 6 sources. Kid version. Just as currently spoken languages are always changing, our religion is a living tradition, continually drawing on new knowledge and inspiration to guide us through our lives. Here are our 7 principles, again in Kid version, which most of us are fairly familiar with. But today, we are going to concentrate on our 6 sources. Imagine yourself in a library, shelves upon shelves of books, but they are organized in a way you haven't ever seen before. They are organized by our sources. Our first source, a sense of wonder, is a completely unique section in this library. Unique because you have never seen anything like it before, at least not in a library. This section is full of feelings, memories, and experiences. All of your feelings, memories, and experiences. Because you know what? This is your library. In my library, I have my feelings, memories, and experiences. And because we are always growing and learning and trying new things, this part of our library is always changing and expanding. Good thing this part of our library is in our minds. We would totally run out of space. Our second source takes up the second section of our library. People from long ago and today whose lives remind us to be kind and fair. This is more like a regular library to us, but there's definitely a mixture of stories. There are memoirs and autobiographies. There are encyclopedias about women and men and the great things they've done. There's detailed biographies spanning lifetimes. Some of these stories are about people who have been gone for many, many years. But many stories in here are from people around you today. Parents, friends, teachers, community leaders. Some of them are well known past our city and state, and others are only known by a few close friends. But they all have influence on who we are. Our third source, ethical and spiritual wisdom of the world's religion. Here is where you find religious texts and the rituals and practices of many, many faiths. Here is where you will find information about religions you've never even heard of before. But the important thing to recognize is that all of these are ways that we can draw on other religions to help us learn and understand about our own Unitarian Universalism. As you enter the 4th section, about our 4th source, you will find shelves and shelves about Jewish and Christian texts. It may seem a little odd to have this separate from world religions, but Unitarian Universalism has a direct connection to these two faiths, making it important to give them a section all their own. Here we find the Hebrew and Christian writings that make up the Bible. It's full of many, many parables, stories, and allegories with unforgettable characters, rich imagery written by many different rabbis, nuns, and other religious leaders of the time. It is from these teachings where we are taught to love all as we love ourselves. Our 5th source looks very much like a regular library as well. It's overflowing with books and materials about science and humanism. Every day, scientists are learning more and more about how the world works and how we got to where we are now as living beings. Here, we find information about society and ethics, as well as biology and chemistry. And there's just so much here. This section has things to touch like dinosaur bones and scientific instruments to explore and examine our universe. The last set of shelves is filled with books that teach us about the earth. We find indigenous teachings, along with pagan and other earth-based religions, books that study the natural rhythms in our lives, and texts about the miracle of life. We find science books on these shelves too, covering the animal world, sexuality education, climate change, and other fields. Off to one side, picture lush gardens and miniature habitats of all kinds, since observation is one of our best ways to learn about nature. I'm so glad that we had the opportunity to learn a little bit more about these 6 sources.